Hey there. I wish I could remember verbatim what Patty Broussard posted. I think it was this morning about the peace talks failed. We, along with the Guardian Group, and I believe she said 22 other races, okay, are now going to engage in basically what I knew a few years ago, which was known as a green light, had been given what they call a scorched earth policy. Okay, this is sort of how, if you want to measure something on a universe scale, because these beings are actually considered universe killers. So this is sort of, I'm going to try and put this in the context of the way that I perceived it when I was a child, reading through my father's engineering manuals as an aeronautical engineer. Okay, so when you're already sort of highly mathematical to begin with, because you can put puzzles together at a pretty rapid rate, right? The exponential function is probably one of the most useful tools if you want to measure consciousness, species development, learning, etc. Okay, because we're talking about the evolution of consciousness, which is the evolution of what, or what I call the graduation of your electrical density, which means how much juice are you running on, right? Which is a measurement of how much light you're aware of. Because all that data that you process and to experience what that information represents to you is held in all that light, because light becomes the experience of who you are. Okay? Remember? Energy identity? So the first thing that really struck me as a child when I realized reading my first newspaper, how did I land in a hell realm? Because the energy's all distorted, right? It's not in harmony. So I figured that when I looked at people that were around, particularly when I was in school, I realized they were robots. Man, why are they following these people in these classrooms? You know, like empty skulls and mush, like a blank disc, put the information out there, spit it back out, and you get a grade, and hey, good, great, you've just been programmed. As a matter of fact, you're going to jump for joy getting stars put on your board for the grades that you get. Oh my God, I love being programmed. Man, I'm out of here. I'm going to grab a surfboard and I'm going to go out and be with mama. Man, they're going in reverse. I'm going forward. Right? I remember one time when I was 14 years of age, 15, and I was going to Foothill High School in Orange County, California, in North Tustin. Okay? And I'm watching this girl, okay, who was a beautiful young lady, running out to this guy that's got, because his dad's either a judge or a lawyer working out of Orange County Courthouse, right? So what you have here is this girl, what is she doing? She's gravitating to the money side of things, the material side of things, the lower density side of things, thinking that's the pathway forward. And I'm going, girl, I'm thinking to myself, you're going in the wrong direction. Because they don't understand how electrical density consciousness works in order to climb the ladder. So when I was a child, I realized I had to figure out, in generational, like if you think of what is the average lifespan of the average human being on this planet, what do they say, 75 years? So I figured, okay, it takes 75 years. And within 75 years, if I'm comparing it to taking a 7-year-old child and they learn how light works, whether it's 10 minutes or a half an hour on the Big Island of Hawaii, how come a population group, particularly when I looked at Nazi Germany, how did they allow a monster to get away with what they did? Because I always thought the German people were some of the most intelligent people on the planet. Well, it's not very intelligent to allow a monster to rule over what it is you experience. Something's not right with this equation, right? So when I looked through my father's manuals, what I began realizing when I looked at what's called a multidisciplinary sciences, I went in and looked at all the sciences, where all the Nobel Prize winners were. All the Oxford guys, all the Harvard guys, all the MIT guys, all the Caltech guys, all these big high-class pencil-head mathematicians and the rest of them. What are they doing to all their energy? You know what I realized? And this is a child. As smart as these people think they are, they're putting all their energy, okay, their mind's energy, into things that they develop in an exponential way in which they're used against us. That's why I left the university. Not that I actually went in there because I expected I was going to be a part of their system, but I went in there to experience all the data that I was going to experience by the way that they run their programs. Okay? That other people end up running for them in order to do what? Terminate their own biosphere. That's called going in reverse, which means that's an extinction of a species. Which means they've been programmed because they didn't know the difference, which is called inverted. Okay? Now, I'm very familiar with all the technology that they threw and waged against humanity. Okay? So I already had a discussion with everybody up above, basically, on because I have so much love and compassion and empathy for those that just didn't know. You know, they didn't pop out of the womb and realize already, vibrating off the charts, hey, something's not right here. And they went right to figure it out because they're already vibrating off the charts. So your light is already lit. You're already a lighthouse. So it's easy to put things together at a very high rate of speed, right? Computer terminal, processing data, how much are you aware of? So what it boils down to is we're talking about the difference between what I call spiritual growth, ancient spiritual knowledge, okay, and knowledge. The exponential rate in which you're gaining knowledge and the exponential rate in which your spiritual enlightenment is matching up to that. Okay? So you can have a lot of knowledge in your head, which means, hey, you can learn how to build a spaceship. Okay? We can teach you how to do that. But what are you going to use it for compared to what we use it for? We use it to explore the universe with, as teachers, as scientists, to explore what's possible so the universe thrives. That's not what they do. They hijack and steal our technology, the highest stuff they think they can get a hold of, in order to do what? Kill off more worlds, gain more control over everything. If they had it their way, they'd take the whole thing. Right? You've seen what termites do to a building, right? Insects in your house. Energy's energy. You keep giving these beings a source of energy they can keep feeding on because they don't have an off switch. What do you think happens? So the vampire cannot be allowed to consume the artist. Or you don't have any music left to listen to and dance to the music, to the musical spheres. Right? I'm a drummer. I love all instruments, actually, but I do love drums and keyboards. Love to dance and sing. Okay? And that's another measurement that I do. Like, for instance, because of the place that I'm in right now, they want us to go to a church every Sunday. So I go down there, and they got a band in there. And that's a pretty good band, actually. And they got a good drummer and a pretty good lead guitarist. And they play some nice music. Absolutely do they play some nice music. Okay? But the point is that there wasn't anybody in there. There was like maybe myself and two other people that I noticed, you could see their spirit moving. And it's like everybody else in there was like a dead battery. Music doesn't move you? You got any, are you what are you? A robot? An android? A cyborg? You got a soul in you, a spirit in you? It makes you want to dance to the music because the waves feel so good. Those waves of music, which is energy in motion, is moving the spirit. You want to dance to that harmony, to that harmonic, those harmonics. That's how you travel. Jesus. So for what it's worth, my reference is because of the way that Robert David Steele and the gentleman that he had on there that seemed to be somewhat versed on some galactic historical way, previous civilizations that collapsed and why they collapsed. Well, just take a look at the one that you built. That was never meant to go anywhere. The civilization was never going to advance without free energy. Are you kidding? And anybody that ever came out with any free energy, what do you think happened to them? Yeah. Go look at the guy, what's his name, Parker, with the Ford Motor Company. What did he do? He developed a car that can run on water. And see if you can put this together with everything else that Patty Broussard has put up, Karen Ann Luke McDonald up, and people that know how this works, particularly with memory, right? Is that when the water ran out, the engine still ran. It remembered. Okay? So that's memory. See, when you operate on memory, that's why they throw. I had a lady who was a professor for Kraft. She used to work for Kraft Foods. I took a nutrition class, and she was a lab director for Kraft. You know, Kraft Foods. And she was telling me how they deliberately put, if you will, frequencies that get embedded in your memory, that get ignited. Oh, hey, that tastes good. Okay? Doesn't matter whether it's good for you or not. Doesn't matter whether it produces acid or not. Hey, that tastes good. So they know how to trigger that internal response. That's called input. So the output or the response of what your body does is alkalize. Wow. So you keep doing the same thing over and over again because that impulse, okay, that stimulus is saying, hey, let's do that again. Hey, let's do that again. Hey, let's do that again. So that's what they do. They program you to keep doing things. To do what? Drain your light. So this is always going to fall under lack of light, which is lack of knowledge, which means at some point there's got to be a spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening comes by virtue of how much light you're running, which is how much love you have. Because just like I said this morning to this guy, you know, when you're running on that much love, with that much light, you already know the future, don't you? Which means you know the future result of what you're doing with your mind's energy. Which means we're not going to do anything that's going to cause any harm. And we know how to do that. That's called spiritual growth development. So that's where the knowledge, which means, wow, you really move fast about the exponential function on what it is that you're learning. Yeah,